Now, more of our continuing coverage of the coronavirus issue. And of course, right now, you can't go to an East Riding library. However, there's an opportunity for you to actually get involved virtually, and something that you may have wanted to do this for a long time, researching your family history, but from home. To tell us more from East Riding Libraries, we're joined by Sarah Hutchinson. Hope you're staying safe, Sarah.
Staying safe and enjoying looking out at the sunshine. It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
It certainly is. Now, if you're an East Riding Library customer, you can actually access a fascinating thing. Find your past and ancestry as well. Free, can't you? Tell us all about this. How do people get involved in this then?
Right, well, all you need is your library card. And you go onto our library catalogue, and that's at library.eastriding.gov.uk. And then you just click on the Ancestry and Find My Past link that's at the top of the page and follow the instructions.
Now, this is something that really, people. Everyone has an interesting past, don't they? And right now, if you are as we are in lockdown, if you've got that library card, you ought to maybe have a go at looking into your own past.
Absolutely, yes. And Ancestry and Find My Past are both very expensive subscriptions, and we're just so absolutely thrilled that we've managed to get it so that it's accessible to people in their homes for the duration that the library isn't open.
And it's a very straightforward thing to do as well. Now, if you are a library member, is it fairly straightforward to become a library member then?
It is indeed. If you go on to that library.eastriding.gov.uk, if you haven't got a library account, you just click on where it says join the library to that link, and it'll send you all of the details, and you'll be able to get logged on and see the catalogue, see all the things that are happening, all the things that are available from the library service, but also it gives you a direct link to Ancestry and Find My Past.
Now, the interesting thing here, of course, gives you the opportunity to build your own family tree. Now, have you been tempted to do this yourself?
Oh, that's a difficult question. How embarrassing. Our family have two matriarchs in it who have both done the family tree. And the family trees don't agree with each other.
What?
And actually, the two females don't agree with each other either. So if I do the family tree, I'm either going to side with one or side with the other or throw yet another lot into the mix. So I daren't. I much prefer helping other people.
I see.
Safer.
No, I don't quite. How have you dared to look at where these two family trees part, or is it best not to stir too much family trouble up?
Well, what we do, we have a family get-together every year, and we've bought a roll of wallpaper, and we all take along our family details, and we fill in all of the gaps on one of the family trees. One of the other genealogists in the family is a bit of a black sheep, so she doesn't come along at all.
Oh.
But it means it's quite a good community effort, when we all get together in the summer, and it's something that maybe other families could think of doing when we are allowed out again. All bring information about your families and add them to the family tree. Yeah,
it sounds to me, though, it could be, I don't know whether it's wise to open up all this kind of information. It might lead to all kinds of family feud.
Oh, it's fabulous. Oh, but I'm one of a really big family. So, yes, and we enjoy family feuds. It gets us all a bit, gets us going. So I think other families might be a bit more normal than us.
Yeah, right. So
but that's what you find out when you do your family tree, how normal or how many black sheep you have. And it's the black sheep that are the fun ones.
And obviously, we've uncovered from this conversation, you've got quite a few black sheep in your family then.
Yes, we have actually. Yes, that's another story.
Another story, thank goodness. Please, Sarah, fantastic. This is fascinating. I'm going to give this a go as well, particularly because it's free at the moment as well. So it's a fascinating thing to do. Remind us then, if we want to do this, Sarah, where do people go to do it then? Where do they go?
Well, if you haven't done your family tree before, can I give you some tips to begin with? And it's things that every genealogist wishes that somebody had told them when they started.
Please do.
So are you okay with that if I run through that? Well, the first thing is You want to be gathering up as much information from any members of your family that you can do. And you start your family tree, and all genealogists will tell you that you start with yourself, because that's the information that you're absolutely sure about. I'm the only genealogist that doesn't seem to say that, actually. I don't agree with that. What I say is you always start with the youngest generation. So if you've got children, you start with your children. If they've got children, you start with them. Because as much as you're sure about your own details, you're absolutely sure of their details as well. And the trouble with doing your family tree is you will never finish it. Because you've got your matriarchal side, your patriarchal side, you've got the social history that goes with it all. So actually, what you need is to hand it over to other people. And if those other people, the younger generations, are included on the family tree, they can see how it relates to them. And they're much more likely to pick it up and run with it than if they're not included on it. So that's my first really big tip of the day.
Right. So what you're basically saying is you're actually saying just delegate it, aren't you? That's what you're saying.
No, you're getting prepared to delegate it. You're going to have fun first of all, but then you're going to share the fun around.
I like the idea of that. I like the idea of that. I think that's a fantastic tip, Sarah, and I apprient you telling us it as well. And we'll all follow that tip. And I will certainly follow the delegation side of it, definitely.
Well done, well done. Second tip is, if you go onto our Ancestry site, along the top, there's a strip along the top, and one of the things it says is charts. Now then, what you need to do is to go on there and print out one of the family trees. Now you can write in then what you know, the details of your parents, your grandparents, anything else that you can find out like that. But my next tip is really, really important, and that is by every bit of information that then you start to gather from Ancestry or anywhere else, any other records, you put the number 1 or the number 2 by it. Because particularly with Ancestry, you get all of these fabulous clues about your family and leads that take you down all sorts of little alleyways. And you almost forget where you started off, but you certainly forget where you got the information from. Now, a number 1 is shorthand to you, for meaning you've looked at the original document to get that information. And a 2 means you've actually looked at a transcription, it's typed out. Now, particularly for the 1901 census, that was mainly typed out by people in India. So it was reading records from over 100 years ago, when you live on a separate continent and English isn't your first language. Now, when we look at those records, we find them difficult enough to interpret, but actually, you imagine how difficult it is for people over in India. So it means that things like the 1901 census, if you go into the bit that's been typed out nicely, showing the records, you will find that, for instance, in Doncaster, there were no coal merchants. But there were hundreds of coral merchants. Because in India, they had no concept of what a coal merchant was.
Right.
So it's a little clue to you, so that when you've got your family tree nicely building up and you've got 2 bits of information that are contradicting each other, it means you've got a good idea of which one is more likely to be the correct one.
Got you.
That can save you hours and hours.
It sounds like it. Sounds like it.
That's my other
Sarah,
trick of the trade.
You've certainly given us certainly something to think about there. Sounds fascinating. It certainly will occupy everybody for hours on end as well, which is another good thing right now, and it'll certainly divert you away from all the issues we're worrying about at the moment. Sarah, it's great to speak with you. Stay safe, and thanks for talking to us.
Lovely. Thank you so much. It's been a joy. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Do it, though.